Hi guys, my name is Dragan and I'm a ristabarista and welcome to my YouTube channel, Ristabarista Academy. This is my second video or second episode where I will talk about 7 essential elements of brewing. We will talk mostly in this video about first 4 and then 5th, 6th and 7 we will talk in additional videos. So 7 essential elements of brewing are coffee to water ratio, grind settings, brewing time, water temperature, brewing turbulence, water quality and filter media. Today I will explain first 4 and I will demonstrate practically on brewing. So let's get started slowly. First we will talk about coffee to water ratio. So what means coffee to water ratio? That means how much grams we will put of grounded coffee into our brewing gadget, which we want to use, and how much water we want to pour over that coffee in grams. So STA recommended standard for, let's take the green one. STA recommended standard for coffee to water ratio is 1 to 15 to 1 to 20. What that means? That means on 1 gram of coffee we are adding 15 grams of water, or on 1 gram of coffee we're adding 20 grams of water. So from the strongest, which is 1 to 15, to the lightest, which is 1 to 20. Of course, this is STA standard here. So this is STA standard. You can always go more or less, like you can go stronger or lighter if you want, if you like it, if you don't want to work under the specialty coffee standard. So you can go also 1 to, let's say, 14 or 13, or you can go as the strongest, this is the strongest, and you can go as the lightest to 1 to 22 or 21. So generally, in most of the cases, if it's lower than 1 to 15, for example 1 to 14, it's already very strong. I tried a lot of multiple of them and immediately I can recognize it's very strong. But if you go more, lighter than 1 to 20, 1 to 21, 1 to 22, it will be very light, very watery. So generally this STA standard, even if you don't like STA, you don't want, like a lot of people don't like it, even if you don't like it, still you will find most comfortable in this ratio to drink it as most balanced coffee. Just depends on the roast profile, of the freshness of the beans, of the gadget that we are using. Depends which ratio we will use, and we can adapt while we are calibrating ourselves how to extract the perfect. So optimum standard for the water to coffee ratio, coffee to water ratio, is 1 to 15 as the strongest, up to 1 to 20 as the lightest option. Okay, let's talk now more precisely about the ratio itself. What it means? That means that on 1 gram of coffee, how much grams of water we are adding to our brew. So if we have a dose, for example, let's make round number, 20 grams. As the strongest option, 1 to 15, we want to go 300 grams of water. So 20 grams, 20 multiplied 15, that means it's 300 grams of water as the strongest option. If you want to go lighter, so lightest option on 20 grams dose, it's 20 grams multiplied 20, 400 grams of water. So now what's the thing? The thing is that we have a 20 grams in, 300 grams of water out, and 20 grams dose here, and 400 grams of water over. So in that frame between 300 grams of water and 400 grams of water, we are actually playing and we are calibrating our brew to be the most balanced and most drinkable, let's say like that. You can go stronger, you can go less than 300 and more than 400, but as I said before, most of the time either it will be very strong, either it will be very light. But this is just an example for 20 grams dose. So if it's our dose 18 grams, so 1 to 15 is not anymore 300 grams. It's 18 grams of coffee multiplied with 15, which gives how much it gives? it gives 180, and it gives 90, 270. So in that case, 270 is our minimum, and maximum on 1 to 20 ratio, if it's 18 gram dose, it's 360. So, well, that's very important to know. So depends on your dose actually, how much water you can pour over the coffee. There is a minimum, there is a maximum, so you can play in that frame to extract the most balanced brew. So that's it about the coffee to water ratio, and let's talk now more about grind settings. Okay, let's talk now about grind settings and brewing time together, since they're very connected. Depends on our grind settings, how much we set up our grind size, we will affect our brewing time, which is very crucial. For manual brewing, we are using mostly medium coarse to coarse grind size, depends on our brewing method that we are using. If we set up our grind settings very fine, it will lead to over extraction. Why? Finer grind size gives a longer brewing time, and longer brewing time means longer contact time between water and coffee, where water is extracting the more solubles from coffee that we actually want. So that's if we make fine grind size, so we will go longer brewing time. If we make coarser grind size, we will go shorter brewing time, and if we make too much coarse, it will lead us to under extraction, since our brewing time will be shorter and contact time between water and coffee will be shorter, so there is not enough time for water to extract enough solubles for our coffee. So let's say that in practical, the most common brewing time goes from 2 minutes to 4 minutes for the manual brewing. So if we are very coarse and shorter than the 2 minutes, most of the time we will be under extracted. If our brew is longer than 4 minutes, so if we are making the finer grind size, we will be over extracted. Let's just say one more time what that means. So this is not strictly the frame of the time where you should play, but most of the brewings are giving the best result if they are finished in that frame of the time. So if we are very coarse, our water will go through coffee very fast, and it will lead to under extraction, since there is no enough contact time to extract enough solubles from that coffee. And if we are making the more fine grind size than we should, and we go with our brew longer than 4 minutes, it will lead us to over extraction, which because our contact time between coffee and water is longer, and it's water extracting the more solubles from coffee that we actually want in our brew. So basically that's it when it comes to the grind settings and brewing time. We want to make optimum grind size to extract exactly enough solubles from the coffee to be properly extracted within brewing time of 2 minutes and 4 minutes in between that two. If it's shorter and you still like it, for me personally, it's fine. If it's longer and you still like it, it's also pretty much fine. But if we do some precise testing of our extraction and strength of the coffee, which I will explain in some future videos, we will see that our coffee is most probably, if it's out of this frame of time, it's most probably under extracted or over extracted. And basically, that's it when it comes to the grind settings and brewing time. And I will now also practically explain in this video how it looks when it's very fine or very coarse grind size, and where is when it's proper grind size. Yeah, that's it. Okay, it's time to go out, talk about water temperature. Just before that, I want to say one more thing about grind settings. Grind settings are also affected by the roast profile. So different roast profiles requires different grind settings for the same ratio. So for example, 1 to 15 ratio with two different roast profile gives a different grind settings cannot be brewed on the same grind settings because solubility of the coffee is not the same. Higher roast profiles gives more soluble coffee. So just to mention that, since it's very important, grind settings are actually probably, and brewing time are the most important things for me personally when I'm doing brewing. Actually, this all four: coffee to water ratio. That's what I'm talking about. Those four only. When we talk about water temperature, recommended STA ratio is from 92 to 96 degrees. A lot. This is probably something that baristas on the market playing most with, and it's fine. I mean, less than 92 mostly. They are going less than 92 people. 91, 90, 88, 85. One thing you need to know about the water temperature. Okay, this is recommended STA coffee standard, STA temperature standard, and it's recommended for the specialty coffee roast profile. So if you are making your brew with some higher roast profile, let's say from commercial coffee, you will definitely go lower brewing temperature. How water temperature is affecting our brew? Water temperature actually is affecting on the way that higher water temperature extracting more solubles from coffee. So if you have a very soluble coffee, higher roast profile, we want to go lower and lower brew temperature since we don't want to over extract it. But if you have a lighter roast profile, we need to extract, it's less solubles to extract, so we want to increase our brewing temperature to extract more from that coffee. So basically that's it when it comes to the brewing temperature. Very simple, from 92 to 96, and you can play in that frame if you want to work under specialty coffee standards, if you don't want to work under specialty coffee standards, and if you especially are not using the specialty coffee roast, let's say you are using some commercial roast, which is some medium to dark roast profile, you want to go lower than 92, you can go 91 or you can go 90 brewing temperature, it's totally fine. So basically that's it. Yeah, my cat is playing with my things here, so it's time to stop this video. No, I'm joking, I will not stop, just I said everything about these first four elements, essential elements of the brewing, and now I will practically explain also some things when it comes to the brewing. So let's keep on the practical part. Okay, what I will actually do now, I will demonstrate practically what we talked previously, what I spoke about the essential elements of brewing. So I will make 3 brews with the same temperature, 93 degrees, with the same ratio, 1 to 17, same dose, 18 grams of coffee, 306 grams of water, and I will just change grind settings. So I can demonstrate you how actually it looks when it's too much coarse and how it's affecting our brew, and when it's too much fine and how it's affecting our brew, and when it's proper grind set. So yeah, let's make now 3 brews, and let's see how grind settings is actually affecting our brew. Okay, it's time for us to make our first brew with first grind size. I hope you can see these numbers here. So everything needs to be tied on 0. Before we start our brewing, we need to pre-wet, to rinse our paper filter, to remove eventual flavor of the paper in our brew, and also to preheat our brewing gadgets and glass server on the bottom. So okay, this is how it looks when we are rinsing our paper filter. So we are removing eventual paper flavor from our coffee. Now I will add my dose, which is 18 grams of coffee. I will not use origami dripper that I wanted. I will use V60, since my origami dripper is a small 01 size, and this is V60 02. It's bigger, it's more convenient for
using a demonstration, especially for the 18 grams dose. Okay, we have 18 grams here. So now when we have our dose, we are evenly distributing our beans and preparing it for the pouring. Now, I hope you can see the numbers. It's 18 grams, so I will tar to be on 0, since we will add now 1 to 17 ratio, so we will add 18 multiplied 17, which means 206 grams of water, which is 93 temperature that I mentioned. So when we start pouring, we are also starting our time, and we are pouring slowly. First phase of the brewing, it's popularly called blooming. It's actually pre-wetting phase, where we are preparing our coffee bed for the more even and more proper extraction. I put 54 grams of the water for this first phase, and now you can see the bubbles are going out, so coffee is releasing the gases with contact with water, and on that way it's preparing our coffee bed for more even extraction without any combinations on the way. So after 45 seconds, this phase can be done between 30 and 45 seconds. I usually like it to be 40-45 seconds. So now we are pouring. I will pour only once. I will put all 306 mLs. So I pour 54, and now I will continue up to 306 mLs of the water, just to be uniform for all 3 grind sizes, to see how it's brewed differently. Okay, I will do more 310. So this is our first brew. When you are pouring, you want to pour more evenly, to all over the, like around the motion, to make more even extraction. You can pour all in the middle without moving your kettle, or you can pour zigzag motions, whichever you feel comfortable. But the most important thing, the result, is to be the coffee bed to stay uniformed, even shaped from all sides. That means that you have your pouring even all over the brewing device. So as we can see now, the water is going very fast through this coffee, which probably means I make it too much coarse. Okay, stop. It's 218, so it's still in the decent time, but it's very, very, very fast at the minimum, or let's say some standard. So that is how it's affecting when it's coarse grind size. Water is going very fast through our coffee beds. So that's it for the first one. Let's make 2 more, and to see how it will affect our brewing time with 2 more different grind sizes. Okay, it's time to make our second brew with different grind sizes. So first one was coarse, second one will be a little finer than that one, and third one will go even more finer. So we will see how that will affect our brewing time. So we start our scale, and let's start our brewing time. Just press it. Yes, started. So we are starting again with the pre-wetting phase, where we want evenly to pre-wet all beans. I put again 54, this is 53, so almost the same. And now coffee is degassing, releasing the gases out and preparing our coffee bed for the uniform extraction. I will leave it around 40 to 45 seconds again, and then I will pour all at once again, up to 206 grams of water, just to be uniform, so we have a exact difference in brewing time for the same technique that we applied. So again, I'm pouring all over in round motions, evenly all over my 60, all over my coffee. You can pour all in the middle if you want, you can pour zigzag motions, As long as it's uniform pour, you will be just fine, nothing is wrong. After extraction, our coffee bed need to have a uniform shape, so that means we did our job properly. If it's not uniform, that means we didn't apply uniform pouring technique over our coffee. So let's see how long in the time this grind size will take. First one was 2 minutes and 10, 2 minutes something like that, 2 minutes 15. This is a little bit finer than first one, so let's see how long it will take to brew, to extract our coffee. It's a little bit slower. Okay, it's done. The second one is 245. So that means that a little bit finer grind size, giving us a little bit more contact time with water. So let's make now the third one with a little bit more finer grind size to see how it will result. Okay, our temperature is almost done. So let's start. We'll start the time and we'll start pouring in the same moment. Pour evenly all over the coffee bed. Same as the first two, and then we will wait 40 to 45 seconds, and then we will extract all up to 306 grams at once. Okay, pouring is done, so let's see. Okay, this is significantly slower than first two. It's already almost 4 minutes. Okay, it's done. 413. One of the characteristics when you have a finer grind size than you should have is this muddy. I don't know if you can see it here. It's coffee bed stays very muddy. That means our grind particles are very fine, which in this case showing through our brewing time. So okay, that's it for our 3 different brews with the 3 different grind sizes. So let's now discuss it about how to manipulate it and how to set it up to fit our needs. Okay, let's talk now about what we get for results and how we can play with our grind settings in order to achieve better extraction and to make the brew that it's fit better to our needs. So first brew finished at a certain grind setting in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Second brew in 2:45 and third brew in 4 minutes and 5 seconds. So what's here very important? Okay, first one was coarse, second one was a little bit finer. So a little bit finer results a little bit longer brewing time, and third one was significantly finer than first 2, which results a little bit more longer brewing time. So in the case that you're making brew at home and you start first time, you make a grind size and you make a brew and you get time 2 minutes, or let's say you get time 1 minute and 50 seconds. No matter what, if it's very fast and when you try it, that coffee will taste like a very light, grassy, very watery, and then you most probably would like for the same ratio that you applied, to repeat the same ratio, you want probably to change your grind settings to the finer. So when you change it to the finer, you will get a little bit slower brewing time, which will probably result with more sweetness, more body, or more acidity, and it will taste in generally overall taste will be better. But if you make your grind size more finer that you should make first time, so and after this you get this brewing time, or you get 4:15, 4:30, 5 minutes, whatever you get, and you taste that brew, it tastes overwhelming bitter and sharp, then most probably you want to go a little bit coarser grind sizing in order to reduce that brewing time, but not too much coarse to come back on this very fast brewing time. So in that case, you're going a little bit coarser and you're searching yourself somewhere in between, where you will get this time, or maybe you will get 3 minutes time, or maybe you will get 2:30 and still it will be fine. And that's how you're actually playing with grind settings and brewing time. So you don't want too much fast brewing time and you don't want too much slow brewing time. You want to be somewhere in the middle, and to achieve that you need to apply a certain grind size and certain grind settings. So if you're too much coarse, if you're too much fine, that means you are if you're too much fast, that means probably that your grind size is a little bit more coarse. So you want to go a little bit finer, but you don't want to go too much finer. If you go too much finer, your brewing time will be too much long. So you want to be in between coarse and fine, just exactly how much you need for the optimum brewing time and optimum balanced flavor. So you don't want very light coffee with grassy and peanutty oat kind of flavor, and you don't want overwhelming bitter and sharp brew, which results as over-extracted coffee. You want something in between, and that's how you should apply your grind settings. But first time when you're making brew, if it's too much fast, you can go a little bit finer. If it's too much slow, you can go a little bit coarser with your grind settings in order to achieve the better brewing time. Okay guys, with this I finished today's tutorial. I hope this explanation about grind settings and brewing time will be useful for the all brewing beginners in brewing and home brewers, especially for those who are struggling with dealing with grind settings, with the brewing time. For those who want to improve their brew, I hope these informations will be very useful and they will be able to apply it. You can always message me about it. You will always send me email or leave the comment about it. In next video, I will cover the brewing turbulence, water quality, and filter media as last 3 of the 7 essential elements of brewing, since they are also affecting our brewing quality. That will be covered in the Brewing Basics episode 3. So yeah, I hope you like this. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in 7 days most probably. Thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.